Well, good morning, everyone. My name's Kethel Patel. We're with Mogul Properties, and this is?
Hello, I'm Kane Pickrel.
Yeah. We're here to talk to you about Mogul Properties, but before I do that, I just want to tell you a little bit of story of how we got started. So, I'm a pharmacist, but I'm also a property owner or a landlord. I got into trying to become a property owner mainly to diversify my investments, thinking owning a real estate property would be a good way to do it. My father owned a property as well as managed his own property. I said, hey, this might be a good opportunity. Of course, once you go into property ownership comes with management. And with management comes a lot of things within rental income properties. Number one, you have to be a good landlord, you have to enforce these leases. You have rental collections. You also have property maintenance that goes along the way. And the other big thing about rental income properties is tenant communication. It's a big part of owning a property. And any property that you own, if you can't manage the property, you probably shouldn't have bought it in the first place. But all of these things also encompass a lot of pain points that go along with it. The time that's needed to manage these properties is very significant. The costs that are associated with that time is very significant. And there's a lot of other pain points that go along the way. Along this process, I thought, how could we automate some of this so that I, as a property owner, could potentially move on to another property? And that is one of the pain points in terms of owning multiple properties, is that it's hard to transition to other properties if you don't have help. And so we here at Mogul, we feel like this type of mobile software or this platform can help property owners do that in an effective way, communicate effectively within the property, increase profits as well. And so what we're here to do today, a little bit about, we're going to show you what really the marketplace is currently, and then we're going to talk to you about what this software potentially could look like and how we're going to get there. So I'll hand it over to Kane.
Thanks, Katul, appreciate it. So before we dive in, we spent a couple of years just talking about kind of the research aspect of the industry and spending some time kind of figuring out exactly what the problem is right now with the property career and seeing what we can change about to approach this problem. So from an industry perspective, we found that traditional and software-based property management companies are just not prepared for market changes. So one of the things we're seeing is an untapped demographic in millennial renting. Typically, the majority of renters are just starting the career, as most landlords are retiring from theirs, which isn't a problem. But we think we can appeal to younger investors in property and managers by creating something that's more in tune with their tech-based lifestyle. It's kind of similar to the LifeQuest. And the majority of this group prefer, based on several statistics, portal-based interaction, kind of like Airbnb and Uber. We're finding that social platforms, the sharing economy, have been a proven success in using trust mechanisms online to enforce certain behaviors, and would be greatly impactful on an industry that's ridden with eviction problems and just a lot of administrative fees. We're also seeing a different type of rental economy kind of coming our way. 60% of residents in larger cities are renters, kind of pushing up the cost of living, creating opportunities for more affordable housing. And owning a home is just honestly losing appeal and what we can't think of the American dream, which isn't a problem either, but tapping into people who are more interested in urban lifestyle. And another point is just we're also seeing just renters having higher disposable income, which people are choosing to live as a renter just for longer term, pushing off the prospect of owning a home. From a more individual point of view, it's becoming more demanding to have a career in property management, just for a couple of reasons. Social media has kind of redefined what we expect in properties in terms of presentation and just amenities. Standalone management software haven't leveraged the influence of social networks. There's currently no enforced mechanism for satisfactory experience, kind of with the Airbnb approach that I mentioned before. And management companies and software are just not built to be renter-centric. So from Mogul's perspective, We want to be more renter-centric because that's our consumer. But we're going to operate through the landlord. So that framework is unlike any other management company today. We're also noticing that communication performed manually can be really inefficient. So it's not statistically proven, but most conversations between landlords and tenants are pretty much the same. So we found that we're seeing that if we can just automate a chatbot that could learn with tenants through data, we can just take no need from a landlord to have to communicate with certain tenants, which frees up his time for both the tenant and landlord and makes it easier for the renter. So our solution is to create a landlord autopilot, which you can just manage your property from your computer. This would provide an efficient and personalized chatbot on demand that coordinates conversation between the landlord and the tenant via artificial intelligence. Through partnerships, we would provide an optimized contractor handyman ranking algorithm for creating task orders at the best cost for the labor. So no longer just having to call a contractor with little understanding of what his experience is, but having a full-fledged ledger with kind of like picking a property on Airbnb. You have reviews, a rating for each handyman contractor, so you can just get the best performance for your cost. Another concept with talking back to the freeing up the time is creating a portfolio system which would allow the landlord to focus on his financial strategies on investing in properties rather than focusing on his one single asset on site. Another feature would include sending software updates to your home via Internet of Technology, automate rent collection, and automate lease enforcement and extensions. So that's a lot. We're kind of, to break it down, we wanted to put it in this perspective. So Mogul is pretty much an operating feature between three parties: the tenant, the property manager, and the service provider. Mogul is made up of finance, legal systems, security, and maintenance. So these are kind of the four arms that Mogul will work through. But the most important point is just kind of understanding with this slide who the service providers are and why this can not only create an option for the property manager, but actual jobs for people who want to work in the gig economy. So our service section would be made of contractors, handymen, and what I'm calling jack of all trades, things like cleaning, inspections, and showings. And we're looking through certain handyman apps such as Homey, Handy to provide those plugins for the service options within the app. Our market size is almost over 250,000. You might have heard of these companies: Buildingham, Appfolio, Propertyware. We're learning from these companies, and the closest one that kind of matches ours was a company called Castle, who went out of business early last year for several reasons. So we're trying to figure out what mistakes these companies are making and how to model off of their success. We're looking at a $13 billion industry. These numbers fluctuate, but we are seeing a good share of profit to be made from this kind of app, and it's only growing as renters continue to take over the majority of cities, and its number of landlords each year or each day grow by 544. Just to signal the amount of growth that there are people who are going to use this software. So our go-to-market strategy is a three-phase process. One is just building the prototype. We want to develop and merge partners into a working platform for testing performance, build the chatbot and communication interface for data collection and a learning model. We're hoping this would take a couple years to build through, just a working website, and just prove the concept through functionality. Within a couple years, fully functioning website that can provide basic information via chatbot, ability for a tenant to build task orders, things like that, and to properly update tenants through rent notification and lease updates. And then after we accomplish these goals, kind of expand into key technologies that would just better improve the process of managing properties. So IoT to monitor energy consumption and possibly even predict the risk of appliances in your home before it happens without you having to actually go on site. Improve the chatbot itself for personalized features. And 3, using machine vision to kind of automate just who's actually entering the home, just kind of making this just less need for actual manager itself. So our ask is for help. We have a vision long term, but we just need people to get on board with the idea and try to sell this idea to people. So full stack developers, designers, and experienced property managers. The last one is key because you can't just rely on the technology in this industry. It's a very human industry. So we just need more and more assistance on figuring out what pain points are best approachable through technologies and what are best approachable through face-to-face contact. More partners to fulfill tasking requests. We've had one conversation with a handyman app called Homey. That conversation is still in the works, but essentially just finding more handyman apps that could provide plugins. It'd be zero cost to us or them since we're providing them with work and they're providing us with employees or service providers. So more the better. And any collaboration opportunities would be welcomed. We're trying to focus on the experience for the tenant, not really the landlord as much, but just any outside the box ideas would be very welcomed within this company.